Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Laptop Lifestyle Lounge. I'm your host, Jess Cassity, and today we have a special guest, Heather Holmes from Publicity for Good, and she is a PR representative, and she's going to talk a little bit about PR and how it vibes into, online entrepreneurs and what you can do to participate in getting your story in the media and different streams of what that would look like. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much for coming in here. So why don't we just, get started and you just dive right in and share your story about, how you started Publicity for Good and how that all came about and share it all with us. We're super excited.
Yeah, so I'm the founder of Publicity for Good. I've been a publicist for over 12 years, and I started Publicity for Good 8.5 years ago from my mom's basement. Prior to that, I worked at an ad agency for 3.5 years doing PR. Fell in love with how literally you can reach millions of people and tell someone's story by getting them in the media. But my dad and uncle were entrepreneurs, and I always dreamed of being in the media or, being an entrepreneur. But when you work at an ad agency, it's typically 20-hour days, which that's not the issue. It's, well, like if you at the time, I'm like, well, if I had kids, like, how do you be a mom and how do you get them off the bus and like so many unknown things. And, fast forward, like we're entrepreneurs. I totally want to homeschool, but I was like, there's no way you can be successful and like be a present parent and really like work hard. I just didn't know how it was going to be possible. So I started Publicity for Good 8.5 years ago from my mom's basement. And then I then like a week later got a job at a gym. I just had like a minimum wage job and built Publicity for Good in the mornings and at night. And I did that for 3.5 years. And then 3.5 years later, I went to LA for a client's press tour. Ended up staying because I was like 25 at the time. The business was probably, like at 5,000 a month. I had a VA, but not like a big overhead and everything. I lived in the Midwest for 25 years. I was single and I just really wanted a change of pace, a change of scenery. So I went to LA. I had a one-way ticket and I had no intention of staying, but I didn't want to be rushed with my trip, right? Like I didn't know what new media would come in and all those things. So I ended up staying. And then at the time I had two clients that lived in San Diego, and their roommate was moving out. So I ended up living in San Diego. That's where I stayed. Part of it was it's always sunny. I was always in a good mood, and there were so many entrepreneurs there. So it made connecting, it made speaking, it made just networking way more accessible, right? Because everyone was there at the time. So I ended up living in San Diego. And I remember, at the time at this season, I invested so much in my business because I believed in it and, putting things on credit cards. I had really bad mentors and my credit score was horrible. Clients were really late on paying. And like I think my credit score was like in the 300s. Clients were late on paying and I needed to find my own place to live because my roommates that I lived with in San Diego were going to live nomadically and like not have an apartment.
Wow.
I ended
Yeah.
up finding a place in Ocean Beach in San Diego that I loved, but it was 1,300 a month in rent. And to even get that apartment, they made me pay two more deposits because my
Wow.
credit score was horrible. So I
And
dreamed.
that doesn't sound like a lot right now, but how long ago was this?
That was like in 2018.
Yeah. So, I mean, now it would probably be, more than double for that too.
I think rent is like 2,100 plus.
Yeah.
It's like crazy. So to even get that apartment, I had to drain my savings, really act in faith. I finally got the apartment and then you know, like it was like bare minimum. I had a mattress. And for months, like to even eat, it was Uber Eats. Because when with Uber Eats, it would still like charge your account and like, you know, even if you had nothing, it would just be negative. Or like a lot of rice and beans, and it was so gross. It was refried beans, rice, and then sometimes sweet and sour sauce and little tacos. And I did that for like literally probably like early November, um, all the way until the holidays. I went home for Christmas. I was home for like 3 weeks, but I wanted to be home because I'm like, okay, I can just be and not spend any money and I can eat at home, right? And then I went back to San Diego that like mid-January. And my mom and aunt got me some furniture from Wayfair. So I, you know, then I got like a bed and a desk and all those things. But I let it sit in boxes because I didn't know how to put it together. And I was building my business, like all I was doing was working, right? And then I ended up in February meeting Austin, my husband now, in like a week. Like I wouldn't let him in my apartment the first night because I was so embarrassed that I was just like all this furniture in boxes. And a week later, he helped me put the furniture together. And then he had his last appointment that fall. And while he was deployed, we talked about, you know, okay, when he was done, what were we going to do? Are we going to live in an Airstream? Are we going to live in RV? Like, what do we want to do? And while he was deployed, I actually went back to my sorority house and was my house mom. So it provided me an opportunity to have room and board. I didn't have to worry about meals. I made an extra couple hundred a month and I could just work on the business. And I was so grateful. But it was when he was deployed, we decided we were going to live full time in an Airstream. And we lived full time in an Airstream for 3.5 years. And then the year of the pandemic, it was actually our first $1 million year. And we're now a full time team of 30.
Wow.
Helping amazing entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs, and coaches grow their business by getting in the media. So
Wow.
that's the
Well,
journey.
that is incredible. That's a true like rags to riches story, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really incredible. So, it's so empowering though. I mean, your story was, really packed with so much because, I mean, a lot of people when they're starting their business, they have that hustle mindset. It's their drive and it's the only thing, keeping them going. And, failure just isn't an option. So it's incredible to, see how people can really push through when the crunch is down there.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about how PR can help entrepreneurs scale their business?
Yeah. So let me cast the vision of what's possible and then really talk about the logistics and tactics. So I was catching up with a client and dear friend the other day. Her name is Regina Bonds. She's an incredible confidence coach. And her business really is just on Instagram. And she, she's really good at networking, but she built an Instagram account. Doesn't run fancy ads, is really good at building community. She had it on her heart that she wanted to reach millions of people and impact people with her story. She had an incredible story. She had a child when she was young in her teens, it's that whole story. And she, she had a psychology background and she had a heart to serve. So we first started working together, we did some podcasts, radio, PR is a marathon, not a sprint, right? A couple months later, there was an article that was syndicated because the content was so good. About 7 months in, Martha Stewart was doing an article about organizational tips, and they featured Regina 2 times. And then about 60 days later from that, the Today Show was Googling confidence coach, and they saw all of her other articles, even the smaller articles. And from that, they reached out for a segment. And her business grew by 40%.
Wow.
And why? It's because her confidence increased. Leads came in from publicity. She increased her prices. Her confidence when, instead of feeling like, oh, I don't know, like she knew she was made for greatness and she knew that she was credible, but it just gave her a sense um of credibility. And now from that, like she'll go on local TV. She'll use all that content on social media. She has all these super fans promoting her. Like it's so much easier for her to close clients because they see her out there because her clients want to do what she's doing and she's paving the way. But also too, every interview you do typically gives you 30 pieces of content if it's video format. So not only are you driving traffic to your audience, you're creating backlinks, on your freebie, on your landing page, you can add all the media logos. But every interview you do should give you amazing content that you can utilize to nurture your leads, to send as a free resource, and to really build out your content bank from all of your interviews.
Yeah, and it's so incredible too. You mentioned, how it helps with the credibility. And when you're, any type of business person and you're, trying to get sales and leads and clients, it's one thing to be confident in yourself and that you have, a special gift to be able to help others, but to have the credit from these media sources, backing you up, on your services and yourself is huge. I mean, and that's the hard part to get there, especially in the world we're in today, I think, because everybody can say, this is who I am, this is what I do, but nobody can really prove it, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I think even more people are scared to work with people and buy things now because everybody is, you know, so fake and not really truthful and everything. To have that real credibility and just ensuring people that, they're real, they're true, what they do is amazing. And they can, go and read those articles and watch those episodes or listen to them. So that's amazing. Can you share a couple of other stories of people who, that you've helped, scale their businesses by using PR as well?
Yeah, I mean, reminds me of a time back when I was like first starting to reach out and get clients. Like I've been doing PR for 12 plus years, but of course, when you start your company, you get your own clients. But I remember someone who's really well known in the ClickFunnels community for Facebook ads, Dan Henry. When we first started working together back in 2016 and 17, he was just doing six figures. His offer was helping people scale with Facebook ads. That's what he was doing. And we knew that it was National Social Media Day, and we used that as a hook. We built out this story because the media want a rags to riches story, from pizza boy to six figures. That story and the hook of National Social Media Day we were able to secure about 2 to 3 TV segments, one major syndicated in-studio interview in Orlando. We had 3 different articles go live on Business Insider. And what's so cool is he was only doing 6 figures. That was the story. He was so good at ads and offers and how to structure things that he took all of his publicity, he put it on a landing page, and then he used all of his publicity in the retargeting efforts for what he was doing. And he quickly, made 7 figures. And I mean, I don't know the facts, but I would, argue he's probably up to like 8 figures now. Like, yeah. And it's getting your story out there. And why I love PR is, yes, we have to be on social media, but there's so many people selling the same service that I feel like getting in the media could be your superpower. Another female entrepreneur in 30 days, she did a local segment on NBC in her market. And she actually got a client, which, you know what I mean? Like, that's incredible. And it's because you're reaching new audiences that maybe have not heard of your product or offering. And that if you go on Google, there are so many people doing the same thing. And that same female entrepreneur, her engagement rate on social media increased by 60% because of all of her publicity, creating content, creating reels, showing photos of her on set. Her engagement has increased significantly. So it's exciting.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, everybody's business explodes, it sounds like. And I mean, if you're an online entrepreneur, I think almost everybody knows who Dan Henry is. I mean, you see him everywhere. If you haven't worked with him or bought anything he's had, I guarantee he's in a lot of people's inboxes. I know he's in mine, and I
Yeah.
followed along with a lot of the stuff he does.
Yeah. So it's exciting to see how, um, people can really grow their impact, their community, and their business, by getting in the media. And that could be literally, getting on TV, getting in articles, getting on podcasts, all of those things. But what I'm really passionate about is that consistency. And that when we partner with someone, we don't want just one article. We don't want one and done. And that the people who are the most successful, that are becoming world class, that are becoming internationally known, they're in the media monthly, they're in the media quarterly. And it takes time, but it's so accessible, to you as an entrepreneur.
Speaking of that too, is like, how can people create their PR story? Like, how does that happen? Do you help them do that? Or do they, I think a lot of people have a hard time of reaching down to find their story?
So I think a lot of people sometimes get stuck and they don't want to be too self-promoting,
Yes.
or they think their story is not good enough, or maybe they hired a publicist in the past and got no media interest, so they're fearful that maybe they're not good enough. But it really comes down to creating the right story, reflecting on your hero's journey, reflecting on the key pivotal moments that have happened in your life that have made you want to be an entrepreneur, and then use those as a part of your pitch. But when we partner with you, we're the ones that utilize our relationships, our Rolodex, and literally craft the media pitch for you, where you literally just show up, do the interview, write the article if they want you to write an article. And then where you come into play is really elevating, amplifying your publicity, sending it to your email list, adding it to your nurture sequences, updating your landing page, integrating it to social media. And then once you have all these live links, utilizing it in your content to continue to grow and have that content be a resource to nurture leads, right? Like,
Yeah.
why I love publicity is, yes, I get to talk about PR, but I also get to talk about, like, we live full time in an Airstream for 3.5 years. I'm a mom with two, under two and one on the way. Like, we're building a homestead. So I'll like go to events now, or I'll go to trade shows and they ask me, like, how are the kids? Like, how are the chickens? It just adds that human element to business. And I find that that really attracts you so many more like aligned leads as well, because you're just talking about your story. And when we're a business owner, we're so in the trenches, day-to-day operations, that getting to talk about our story also will reconnect us to our why and our mission, behind the brand.
I love that. Yes. I mean, I completely agree. I mean, it's almost like it almost makes everybody feel kind of silly for not, doing it, right? To grow their business. And I mean, especially if they have, somebody who's amazing, to help them develop their story and, really get that stuff on there. So, I mean, it's almost just crazy to not do some sort of media, right? So, speaking of media, what types of media is the best for people to get onto? Like, what types of platforms? What do you think has the most growth for people who are in the online entrepreneurs?
Yeah. So, from partnering with over 300 brands and female coaches and entrepreneurs, and then personally being in the media 700 plus times. And that's everything from local media to podcasts to national media, being like Inside Edition, Fox News, Business Insider, all of those. It all takes time, number one. If you're in a city that has media, local media loves to support local entrepreneurs. This reminds me of a female entrepreneur who had a cookie company in Texas, a mom, an incredible story. She did a local segment and she brought in $12,000 in revenue, because everyone wanted to support a local mom in their community. So I'm a huge advocate of local media. I'm a huge advocate of podcasts and or doing IG lives. If there's another female entrepreneur who has a following and you have a following, going on live together, right? It doesn't have to be traditional media, although we work with a lot of traditional media, meaning national media, local media, and magazines and online publications. But I've seen the needle move the most with TV because it's just most people are doing articles or one or two mentions, and I've just seen the greatest impact come from being on TV. But that's something I suggest we don't do overnight, and that we need to get your message down, and we should start with smaller radio interviews, or podcasts, just to get your messaging right, and then look at local TV. And then if you don't have TV in your market because you live in a more rural area, you can look at cities that you have a connection to, or maybe it's a really trending topic that you can talk about. Like National Social Media Day is June 30th. Mother's Day was in May. So if you have a topic that is relevant and big enough and will provide a lot of value to others, then you could pitch it to other markets as well.
And probably that would be, just like other influencers and stuff, like you said, like the IG lives and stuff, because I mean, some of those other people who are influencers or other entrepreneurs have very large followings these days, more so than some of the bigger media outlets, it's almost like.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on your goals. I was just talking to someone yesterday who's been going live weekly as an expert for an Instagram account. That an Instagram account now maybe has like 900,000 followers, but they've been going live weekly as an expert. I believe their account started at 8,000 followers, and then from there, they're now about 20,000 followers.
Wow.
So everything's possible.
Yeah, and it's an amazing world that we live in now that have all of these opportunities, and it's really incredible. Everybody in any type of online business, the coaches and course creators, and anybody that's a service provider, or it's incredible to have these opportunities of all the social media platforms, in addition to the big media outlets who also use those media platforms as well. It's such a great time to be a part of all of it, I think.
Totally. It's exciting.
So can you tell us a little bit about just kind of a little behind the scenes of what it would be like for somebody to come and work with you? Like, what does it start out with? Like I know you help them, develop their story and stuff like that, but can you just give them a little quick rundown of what that would look like?
Yeah. So when we partner with you, as your publicist, as your PR firm, where we come in is we create a strategic plan that is built around your business initiatives, product launches, those types of things. So that's high level. Okay. We then look at areas of opportunity, what's trending in the news, what awareness days are there, and we build a forward-facing plan. We ask you for your vision of where you want to be featured. And then if there's others in the space who are ahead of you, we look at where they've been featured and we build out a plan. We also create the messaging, we create talk notes for you. And then if we have your permission, we start pitching the media in the first week. And then from there, all of our strategy is typically approved at week 3. And then from there, we're off to the races. We pitch you every single week. We get media interest in interviewing you, featuring your product, and all those things. And then from there, we always do like monthly celebrations, like monthly reports, and then quarterly reports too. So when we partner with you, all you really have to do is show up for the interview, and or if there's an article opportunity where they really want you to be a guest expert and share your expertise around a certain topic, then we would ask you to write the article. But then we have a full-time editorial team. And like I said before, we're a full-time team of 30 writers, publicists, graphic designers that are working behind the scenes for our brands and clients. So that's really the process. And the why you would hire a PR firm is really a couple of things. It's that you don't have to manage it, speed of execution, you're utilizing what they already know. You're utilizing their Rolodex and relationships to ensure I would say a smoother time with getting in the media. In that, if you were to try to do it yourself, I would say you probably need to put aside 10 hours a week, a lot of follow up, a lot of research. And on top of that, media members typically get about 1,000 inbound pitches a day. So by working with a publicist, you're working with someone that has that relationship and can ensure that your outreach to them stands out as well.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like having the professional represent you is like, obviously they're going to be like, oh, okay, we know they got their stuff together a little bit better than, just Joe Schmo who's, going to send us an article with, we're just not even going to be able to print, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Is that like, I mean, you had said, that this is definitely a marathon and not a sprint. So this is probably something that people need to have like a monthly package or several months or a year package. It's, something that you should probably have for as long as you want to have like a successful career and keep growing too.
I would say most of our brands or even female entrepreneurs want to become internationally known. The idea of being on stages or speaking in different countries is like their vision. So yes, a lot of them do stay on for a longer duration of time, but it also depends on what your goals are as well, where your business is and what type of coverage you're wanting to get, because based on your goals, some goals happen sooner than others.
So I love that. So I mean, it's really nice because it's almost like a customized plan for whatever their goals are and I'm sure, what you think as well too, like once you, meet them and hear about their goals and develop that strategy. So let's shift gears a little bit because, on the other side of you being a publicist, obviously you're also, a woman and a mom, entrepreneur. So do you want to talk a little bit about what that's like?
Yeah, so I have two under two and one on the way. So we'll have three under three. My husband and I are both entrepreneurs. So we're building businesses simultaneously and building a family simultaneously. We do have an office that we go to from time to time. It's not easy. I'm thankful the kids are both asleep right now. Like our family isn't close. Finding local help or people who are reliable that you trust is like a challenge. So we are in the process of looking for like a au pair or nanny, right? Someone that can join our family, travel with us, do life with. I mean, transparently, we're parents all the time. We work all the time because now we have 30 team members and we're building a legacy. I know, and I travel for business, but I do say no to a lot, which is not in alignment with like our current goals right now. And sometimes that feels really hard, right? Like it's saying no to like the one-off things, like going to Charlotte for like a business conference that isn't involved in my niche, or like there's an event at the church. And sometimes it's hard, but like I'm super focused with like where we are right now. I'm saying no to things in this season because it's not in alignment with like our top priorities.
Yeah. It's, what, saying no is so powerful too, to be able to do that and know, to set those boundaries of what you need for your personal life and for your business.
Yeah.
Very, very empowering. So a lot of our listeners, they are, remote workers. They travel around and work from wherever their laptop is. And, some just work from home as well. Some, like to go to an office. But the amazing thing is, obviously, with technology and stuff, we can work anywhere. But you also, you did the remote lifestyle very, intense, living in an Airstream. So, what's that like? What advice do you have for others that are, thinking about traveling around?
Yeah. So we lived full time in an Airstream for 3.5 years. It was prior to having kids and being married, my husband and myself. It was a lot of Wi-Fi boosters, working from hotspot, trying to work from coffee locations, and then going to like national parks. Like that was part of the why behind it, to hike and see national parks. And part of the reason why we did it is we knew a lot of people do it when they're older, and then people aren't even as active, or they're not able to like climb that mountain or like those things. So that's part of the reason why we did it. We still have the Airstream. I'm really excited to get back on the road. It probably won't be like 3 or 4 years, but I'm like excited. But we definitely, I mean, we want the kids older. We need more systems in place, and that we're both still heavily involved in the business. And I would say when your business is very much operationally focused on you, even when you have a team, it doesn't make it as enjoyable. And I wish I wouldn't have felt so guilty. Like I know we're an entrepreneur, right? And we have our own schedule, but I still have not figured out how not to have guilt for not working until like 8 on a Friday. Part of it is that there's a lot of things I need to get done, and I'm trying to, get things in place before baby. But I remember years ago when we were like, in the Airstream, maybe a Thursday afternoon, we go to the Grand Canyon or what have you, and I felt guilty. But it's not like it impacted client services or any of those things, but I felt guilty. And I think I don't know, like,
I think people feel guilty either way. Like they feel guilty for working too much or guilty for not working enough. It's so hard to, not feel guilty in one of those categories.
yeah, for sure. But
yeah, I think that's hard.
Do it, you should do it.
Yeah.
And
I think you should do what you want to do.
Yeah, it's a lot of planning and logistics. And that I would say Austin, my husband, probably spent like 10 plus hours a week on logistics. Well, where are we going to go? What's the path? Where are we going to stay? Like, they have good internet. It's like a full-time job, extra work. It does add stress. Like running a business, there are things that are unknown and stressful. So you're adding a sense of unknown, the uncertainty, and that, well, what happens if you have a big sales call on a Friday and do all the research and you get in Thursday night at midnight and you're at a new, national park staying, and you have a big sales call at 9 and your Wi-Fi isn't working, it's those types of things, and it could lose you business, right? Like I've done, I did a meeting once with someone, and, I think I was a couple minutes late to the call and they didn't want to do the call. I mean, everyone's different, right? But like, you need, like, those things happen, or there's not internet, or the internet goes out, and all those things.
Yeah. So I guess like definitely having a good solid plan, doing your research if you're planning to take it to the road.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder than people think, probably.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that you have brought so much value, and I think that everybody, is going to want to find out what they can do to work with you. So can you tell everybody a little bit about how to connect with you, what the best way to reach out, how they can find out a little bit more about your services?
Yeah. So like I said, I have found that getting in the media is the fastest way to grow your impact, get more clients, be seen, get more visible, add the media logos to your website. But to me, it's also a legacy. And that, like, when people Google my name, or my kids in the future Google my name, it's my social currency, right? So like, I love that too. And it's like my whole life story, right? So people could go to publicityforgood.com. I'll give you the link for the show notes. And with that is definitely for a female entrepreneur who is doing probably at least 6 figures a year. And their system.
I was going to ask you, is there a starting point?
So I would say they want to make sure that their business is at 6 figures and they have their systems in place. That's the biggest thing. But I've seen the miracles that have happened from getting in the media, and I know people have a good story. So what I'm excited about is we actually have PR service with a software that's typically 80% of what you would typically invest in a PR firm. And that really the truth, the transparency is PR is a premium investment, and it's going to grow your impact in business. But it's typically anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 a month when you're hiring a firm. But I wanted to make it more accessible. So Raptor is something I'm really passionate about. It's PR service with a software We pitch you every week. We write an article. There's like the mastermind community where monthly, we lead a call, and it's just incredible people making a difference with their business. And I'll share a link for Signal Raptor too. And that's a subscription model. And it's a really great way to build community, get featured in the media, be pitched weekly, but it's 80% of what you typically would invest in a PR firm.
So
So
that
I'll
might be a
leave
good
the link.
starting point too.
Yeah, and it's an opportunity to grow with us, but I firmly believe like if it's on your heart to share your story and be in the media, you should, because I also tell you too that there's someone that's going to be inspired by your story on the other end of that article or TV station too. I can't tell you how many interviews I've done and the DMs that I've gotten to, and that is so fulfilling to not only the clients I get, but the people we help along the way. So I would definitely check out Publicity for Good. You can check out Signal Raptor. I'll give you the links. And then you always can message me on social media too and say, hey, where you found me on this amazing podcast.
Oh, I love that so much. I think that you're going to get lots of people reaching out, whether they're just starting their business or, ready to, move on to bigger things and, become an international speaker. So excited. Thank you so much, Heather, for being here. And we'll get everybody all of your information and links so that they can check you out and reach out to you to connect. But thank you so much for sharing your story and giving us a little insight of public relations and, being in the media.
Yeah, all you need is your messy story. I've seen people get in the media with an okay Instagram account. Like, all you need is your story. We'll figure out the rest.
So it doesn't matter if we're a hot mess or whatnot. You guys can fix them up good.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Heather. Have a great day. And thank you, everyone, for listening in today. And we will see you all next week.